You've probably heard of Lander, the mastering service, right? Remember that? But here's the thing. Lander has evolved way beyond that. I've been trying out Lander Studio, and honestly, it's kind of wild how much they've packed into one platform. And it's not just mastering anymore. It's everything that you need to make, release, and grow your music in one place. You get access to over 2 million royalty-free samples, professional plugins from brands like Baby Audio and Arturia, a full mastering suite, and distribution to all major streaming platforms. There are even tools to collaborate with other musicians and sell your own creative services. The thing I really like is the simplicity. You can go from an idea to a finished release without bouncing between 10 different apps or paying 5 different subscriptions. It's all in there. And for the price, around $12 a month, it's kind of unbeatable. Most services charge that for just one feature. Lander gives you the full studio setup, production tools, mastering, distribution, and even online courses from real producers. If you just want to help artists make and release music without getting bogged down in the technical stuff, I think Lander Studio is a really smart move. So if you want to check them out, go to lander.com/other record labels. That link gets you 20% off your first Lander Studio plan. That's Lander, LANDR.com/other record labels for 20% off. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Other Record Labels. I'm your host, Scott Orr, where we talk about the art and culture of running an independent record label. You know, cassettes are really interesting to me. I find them nostalgic because I did use them when I was a kid, and I've been tracking their somewhat comeback over the past 10 years or so. And I love the indie cassette labels that we have in our community. I love seeing people do incredible things with cassettes, great looking design, cool mixes, compilations. I've released cassettes myself, but I'm always very fascinated with where things are going with cassettes, how they're tracking with vinyl and now potentially CDs. What do consumers and music fans think about cassettes? What cassette players do we have out there on the market that will help push this format forward? A lot of these questions get answered today. The label I'm interviewing is Chalkpit Cassette Club from the UK, who has evolved from making cassettes and these rare releases with their artists that they discover online, pivoting into a monthly cassette club called Next Wave, which I bet you once you look at them on social media, you'll recognize them. It's probably popped up in your feed before. And then also pivoting into manufacturing cassettes, great quality cassettes for other independent artists and labels. So much to learn today. I think you're going to enjoy this week's episode. So I'm looking over everything and I'm a little bit confused. I'm not confused, but I just wanted to kind of know like what the heartbeat of this enterprise is, like where it started, and like, because what I see is like Chalkpit Cassette Club. I see New Wave, which is its own thing, and then there's manufacturing as well. So can you break this all down for me as to maybe even where it started and what these like branches are?
Yeah, well, it definitely started very simply just with a strange idea, just from the format itself, and being curious enough to think that I could do something with it as a passionate music fan and musician and aspiring record label owner. But the passion really came from it was COVID lockdown, really. I fresh out of uni, trying to develop my own indie label on the Isle of Wight, where I grew up and studied, working with bands and artists and playing myself. But it was in that COVID pandemic where I moved up to London, trying to get a job at another record label and things like that. And, 3 months later, I was back at home because everything
bad timing.
Seriously bad timing. Cassettes wasn't even a thought. It wasn't even a thought. But it was only when, unfortunately, my granddad passed away in that COVID. My grandma shared me his music collection, and he had some tapes and he had a cassette player. So there was a moment where I got to just experience music that he was listening to on this format that felt physical and playful to me coming through. I just thought it was really fascinating that I could listen to the music that he was listening to, 20, 30 years ago, and it having a moment in my life. So it was kind of a thought being like, well, why is all the music going digital only? All the bands I was working with weren't releasing physical or even thinking about it. And we were just getting frustrated with streaming is this it? And I wanted to hang on to creating memories. So it was a pipe dream, really being like, why don't just try and do something creative with cassettes again? There was some interesting blog posts that I was reading, which was saying that cassette tapes were a 10-year high. I think Energy posted it.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. I was like, why are they coming back? And maybe I knew that vinyl was kind of having a mega resurgence, and there was no way I could get into that. It was costing a fortune to manufacture. So I thought maybe I could be at the forefront of the revival of the next format behind that. So it was just a crazy idea that's transformed over the years and years. And I think it's all about being passionate and going against the grain maybe, and taking no for answers. If people think you're crazy, like maybe that's a good thing. I'm happy to try and prove people wrong. And over the years it's kind of just evolved. And like you said, it's manufacturing, there's a magazine, there's community. But at the forefront, it's sharing great music and creating memories on a format that, hopefully in 30, 40 years time, I can look back on, I can share them with my future kids or, generations after. So, we're cataloging the sounds of music. That's how I feel about it.
Oh, it's funny. Somebody was telling me recently about this story about how they inherited or they bought a guy's band t-shirt collection. He had passed away, and so this record store bought all the band t-shirts from concerts he went to, and they were going to clean them and resell them in the store. And I was just thinking about how, like, your grandfather passed down his cassettes to you. You can pass down your band t-shirts to your kids, and they can wear them either ironically or out of something sincere. And like, I just don't think that's going to happen with hard drives. I don't think that I am going to pass down any MP3s to anybody. I don't even think I'm going to pass down any digital photos to people, really, whereas book collections, record collections, tape collections, it's just so important to have something physical.
Yeah, for sure. When I was growing up, I did collect vinyl, and that was very much a part of my kind of upbringing and, collecting my favorite bands. But I can categorically remember the moment why I bought it and the memory I have attached to it. And I have never experienced music like that through streaming. Yeah. Having a deep connection where I could be like, that album was then there, moments in time. So I think I was just super frustrated with what streaming kind of stood for, and knowing that, am I going to be paying a monthly subscription till until I pass away? And then where does my playlist go, or my albums that I love? They just go to the ether. And good point. We could all lose our record collections tomorrow if we stopped paying the subscription fee. So and your kids couldn't see what it is that you listened to, what you liked. No, so it's just it doesn't make sense to me. So everything I'm kind of doing is educating, the next generation on physical, or at least on cassette tape. This format is there for the taking, and it has a modern spin on it.
Well, I want to ask a little bit more about cassettes, but first I want to go back to the company and to the label. And so when you had this idea as it was evolving during the pandemic, what was the original vision? Because I know you have manufacturing here, and we're talking about legit manufacturing. We're not talking about just scissors and glue. So tell me, what was the original And I mean, we've got to talk about New Wave magazine as well. But like, what was that just original vision? Was it just a traditional record label, but on cassette?
Yeah, it was being creative in the sense that we'd collaborate with people on doing limited edition physical, so scarce numbers. Initially thinking, why don't we try and work with artists that had material that never even made it on Spotify? So we were thinking, are there early demos, or is there live material that we could get from artists to then, create this release that their fans would be interested in?
Oh, cool.
So one of the first releases we did was with a band, and they went into the studio in that lockdown and recorded all their early material that their like diehard fans loved, but never was on Spotify. They didn't ever release it. So that was really interesting to like get to play with that type of music for the format.
Yeah.
And that tape did really well. Maybe it kind of skewed our vision on being like, oh yeah, we could definitely do this like repeatably, with other bands. But but I think with everything, it's been being adaptable and willing to just change directions, try new things. So yeah. But early doors, there was like, we were using like an outsourced manufacturer. So so for the first couple of releases we ever did, I used another company. But I think it was the third release we did was just like a complete flop. And then I was just sat with 100 odd, 150 odd tapes. And I'm like, I don't want to be in this position where I'm just sat on loads of stock and taking risks. So from then on, I was like, how do I make this more, feasible? How do I get more involved in it? Like trying to learn how to make tapes, DIY and
just to keep the cost down, you mean? And to not have to commit to a big quantity? Is that why?
Yeah, because everything was all about unit costs and how many we were going to buy. And at the time, I didn't really know how many were going to be purchased or... so I just wanted to try and eliminate all risk. And I think I was just, deep diving on YouTube and figuring out that, there are ways in which you could do tapes yourself with decks and, sticker printing. And I had a local printer. So I just like the creativity of like putting it together myself. And then that made me think, well, actually this makes us a bit more, we can work with more people this way. There's no limitation if we're in control of what we're putting out ourselves.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, because often if you are committing to a certain quantity, that changes your perspective on what you're signing, who you're signing, what type of releases you're doing, because you just don't want to be stuck with something. Were you originally that first artist that did their unreleased material? Were you signing these artists, or were you just looking for artists that either had record deals or didn't have record deals, and you were just doing a one-off release with them? Is that kind of how it was working?
Yeah. Everything was like one-off releases.
Okay.
Independent artists and collaborators that we had worked with, and I'd run a blog and promoted shows. My whole kind of music background, I'm always hunting for new music, so I was always collaborating with artists and thinking, what can I do to help them? Be a tastemaker and support their journey. So yeah, it was just like reaching out with our communities, people that used to like put shows on for in the UK, and try and move the dial in a weird time when so many bands quit overnight. And that was the moment when I was like, we want to make memories for bands, whether they come or go. At least they were.
Oh, that's smart.
So at least they were putting out something.
That's funny, because somebody was just telling me the other day about how they've experienced twice in their music career of like working with a band, pre-production, production. Then by the time the record's out, they break up and they don't, and so you're kind of insulated from that a little bit. Yeah.
That's just, I was either part of their like development, they'd been going for 5 or 6 years, and then she's like, damn, like you've got nothing to show for what you did. And the fans that followed you, it's like, okay, bye. Yeah. So you've only got Spotify. So,
well, what I like about the one-off release labels, and you don't really hear about it too often, but it's actually it's a smart operation, is it's such a low commitment or less stress for you, and I think for the bands to think, here's a guy who's just doing cassettes. I don't know if I want to give my life to him and give my career to him. I give my next 3 albums to him. But yeah, this idea of taking songs that we had no plans for anyway and doing this kind of quirky little release, I feel like it's a no-brainer for bands, and it doesn't come with that fear of signing away your life.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I was never trying to like sign long-term deals or anything like that. Everything's like it's all about speed really, and I wanted to not be pigeonholed on who the artist was.
Sure.
Format is what we were specializing in, so we can work with a jazz artist to an indie band to a metal artist. It's like, my thought was, it's in the name, Cassette Club. Would community around music listening was always, my thought, growing actual music fans, a place where music fans can discover artists and connect with other collectors.
Yeah.
That's what I felt was missing, being able to reflect on COVID, being like, what do I want my next project to stand for? And mean, and that space allowed me to think, well, the community in music's everything. The streaming platforms is, I don't think creates community with fans. It breaks it apart. So how can we use the format to showcase artists, to bring music fans together and celebrate a format that had its moment, but also can have a brand new moment in modern time? So
it's so funny to think streaming platforms have never tried to get into the social media component, other than Ping from Apple, if anybody remembers that a long time ago, but Spotify's never tried to do this thing where people can chat, and I think there was maybe you can chat with your friends in the corner or see what your friends are listening to, but for whatever reason, they don't do anything. You're right, for community.
Same with for the artists as well. They can't access their listeners directly on the platform to build connections. So
that's true. Yeah.
There's so many pitfalls to it, but I just think physical as a entity, has to survive and be part of the puzzle, forever really. I don't think it will ever go. And I think the times, just by us being involved with tapes, being able to see the growth in it over the years has been incredible, and being at the forefront of the changes, or maybe supporting those movements as well by being so vocal about it online. It's right now is, I think, a great time to be utilizing the format. Major labels using it more than ever.
That's true. Yeah. So tell me about where did the manufacturing or where did New Wave, at what point did this come into play? What came first?
So Next Wave. So it started off.
Sorry, Next Wave. I said New Wave. I wrote it wrong. Sorry. So
through Chalkpit Cassette Club, initially we started a subscription base where we would showcase these artists monthly. So that was the first tester. And I think we did probably about 7 or 8 releases as just the Chalkpit Cassette Club subscription, where you discover one new artist and their album.
And so people would pay per month or pay per 6 months kind of thing?
It was just pay per month. Yeah.
Okay.
It was very early door, being can we build out a club system for what we're doing?
Yeah.
I wasn't totally convinced by the output of where it was going at the time. So kind of pivoted quite quickly to evolve, a more tastemaker version of a subscription.
Yeah.
But the first 2 volumes were, I kind of took the risk on it, and the first 2 volumes were actually free to buy, just pay for shipping.
Oh, cool.
So I kind of upfronted the whole thing for 200 copies on the first 2 volumes, which was a great learning curve. And so it wasn't actually a fully paying subscription till the third volume. So that's where I thought, well, you know what, we've kind of given two volumes for free. I think people kind of like the concept. Let's see what we can do to kind of evolve it further. You know, artists wanted to get involved.
So sorry, can I just interrupt you? I just want to clarify. So originally with Chalkpit, this cassette club, it was an artist, it was an album, one album per month, right? From a different artist, and then you didn't think that was working perfectly. So Next Wave was like a compilation, correct?
Yeah.
And that was a better offer to your fans?
Yeah. No, it proved to be a more appealing thing. I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, I've always been making playlists, and I used to do like a Spotify rundown weekly of like new artists and bands and blogs and stuff. So it was almost just bringing that to a physical life and using the format as a gateway for it. But I was really inspired by some magazines of the past, you know, having like that NME, and you know, you get a CD or a cassette with it as a sampler. So it's kind of trying to use some kind of old school models to, you know, re-energize sharing new music. And you know, there is so much new music, incredible music coming out. It's like we need to put it out there. We need to like show people.
One of my favorite things about Next Wave is the design and how you've gone with like a color, just like a monthly color scheme kind of thing. And it's very attractive for me. And it's like, it makes you want to collect them all. And you actually have a picture somewhere of like what a bunch of them looks like, the spines, like all together. Like I imagine as like a collector, like people like cherish their Next Wave collection, sitting on their shelf.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's been probably the best thing to like round off, you know, the community that we're building and what we stand for. But it's kind of like a gateway. I see it as a gateway to our world. The Next Wave magazine is we want people to get involved with the format, and you know, this kind of crazy idea of, you know, a monthly tape and magazine. It's a hard challenge for sure. Whether monthly was the right option or not, but looking back, you know, I'm in my head, I'm like, you know, imagine if we get to 50 copies, 100, like that, being able to catalog all that music and, you know, celebrate it. I think that's really special.
I mean, monthly is kind of daunting now that I think about it, because the thing with time, and I do this too with my podcast, I have a podcast every week and then another podcast every month. The calendar doesn't stop for you. If you get tired, the next month is coming, whether you like it or not, whether you're prepared or not. And it's like, damn, I just finished last month. I don't envy you.
Yeah. It's, I'm always in my head being like, we've got to get ahead of the game. And as soon as, we've had some tight timings and very, a community that sticks by us. So, but you know, we're working more efficiently than ever now. But it's all learning curves. But early doors, I was manufacturing all the tapes with like the most basic setup.
Okay.
So there has been evolution of how we manufacture it and what we do. But it started off very DIY. A lot of learning.
Yeah. And so you do a magazine, right?
Yes.
And that is like basically a page to describe each song or each artist.
Yeah.
And and that's an interesting component to it, right? Because you're obviously giving them something to read while they're listening to it. I mean, it's just like same as like vinyl artwork, you know, like a liner notes. That's a huge, I think it's a huge thing for physical music fans to have something in their hand whilst the music is playing.
Yeah. I just think there's a lot of, we wanted to showcase the band that we're featuring in more detail rather than it just being a mixtape. It's like, no, we want you to go the step further. If you do like it, follow them, and then you can, keep up with what they're doing, and then you could buy more of their stuff, go see them live.
So I'm on your social media here right now. I'm scrolling down and I'm seeing 21, 18. How many volumes? How long have you been doing Next Wave?
So
volume 35.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Last month was our 36th volume. So that was our final one of year 3. So we're entering our full kind of year of releases now. So since then, so we've released over 440 artists on the format of those 3 years. So it's been great.
And so do you do a theme for, like, how do you curate each release?
Yeah, so we don't theme them like other kind of subscription might do. Ours is all about like really brand new music. So usually the music that we are featuring is either soon to come out or has just come out. So yeah, you're really talking about like a month or 2 from when we release it. So it is brand new music all the time. But I also quite like the idea of it being different sounds, through that 12 tracks. We want to kind of push you in different ways, and we're not afraid to kind of show you different things. I think this type of discovery is quite nice because it's kind of, you're allowing us to kind of be tastemakers and show you all this variety, whereas maybe you might not listen to it. If it was on Spotify, you might get pushed down similar rabbit holes.
That's so funny you say that, because like variety is like novel now, because like we're algorithms, and the Spotify playlists. I bought a car recently and it came with like 3 months free of Sirius XM, and it's like you just pick a channel and it's all the same vibes. And so like we're almost 90% living in that like tightly curated, everything sounds the same. So it's funny as you describe variety and the concept of a jazz song coming, before a hip hop song and then an ambient track. I actually kind of crave that. It's so different to what we're used to today.
Yeah. And that kind of symbolizes the club as a whole. Like we're not pigeonholing to like just being indie music or bands. Like, I'm excited about discovery, and it's almost me sharing that with other people. It's kind of an extension of the songs I'm discovering. I A&R all the bands. I put the mix together. So it's me to our community, but it's
what I was going to say. Where are you finding these artists?
All over social media, Spotify as well, YouTube, TikTok.
Do you have people submit to you, like who are familiar with the club?
We do get people submit, not many actually, which is surprising. But if someone submits me a track and we like it, you get on. So it's no kind of like, it's worth sharing it with us. But we can't guarantee it's always going to be the taste or the style. There is probably an underlying feel for the sounds that we put out, but of like a quality or a sound. But it's a constant A&Ring or bands online. Like I quite like trying to trick the algorithms of ads to send me artists that are promoting their tracks.
Oh, smart. That's smart.
So I can discover quite a lot of artists through, Instagram reels and ads.
Well, recording this now, you're going to be probably inundated by a few hundred record labels who are like, hey, I want one of our tracks on those tapes. So you might get some submissions here. This is so cool. And I actually, we connected a couple of months ago on social media, but like I was very familiar with your brand. Not so much with Chalkpit, but I feel like the algorithm on Instagram knows me, and I like, you know, like the design and cassettes and even the We Are Rewind. I have one of those. So I felt like I had seen this club for months and like prior to us connecting. So I feel like it's getting out there because, I mean, by the way, branding is so important, and consistent branding, even though yours is very minimal, it is so important, because if you had changed it up every issue, or if you changed it up even every year, it just wouldn't have the same weight behind it as like, oh my gosh, I've been seeing these guys in my feed for 36 months now. That there's a power behind that, as opposed to if you were to just be releasing a different album each month with different artwork, or even if you were to change the compilations, which I know some clubs do. Some clubs do that on vinyl, and so I don't know. Congratulations! I just think that's a huge move on your behalf, and it's come up in my feed, and I think some of our listeners would probably have seen Next Wave as well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I've collaborated with a designer who, since kind of day one, really, Charlotte, and it's, you know, we work really well together in creating designs that are, you know, modern, but also has a spin on nostalgia. You know, we want it to have a bit of both. So yeah, the Next Wave has really been like a consistent design from early doors, and yeah, I think it's just like record labels of the past, you know, it's like the stamp of authority. Like that's what I loved about physical like history. It's like that label stood for something, and yeah, hopefully like we could have the same kind of effect.
Have you ever looked into like the cassette clubs of the 80s and the music clubs of the 80s? Like there was, I remember like there'd be door-to-door salesmen who would say like, do you want like today's top hits delivered to your mail and in the form of cassettes? Do you remember that? Like, do you know anything about that?
I got told a lot about one called Columbia.
Yeah, Columbia House. Sure, yeah.
House. So that was one. Other subscription. Another huge inspiration of mine was a magazine called SFX magazine.
Okay.
It was a audio new music magazine where it would come on a C60, and it would only be like interviews. Okay. So it would be a whole kind of like podcast. On a C60. I think I got a lot of inspiration from that as well, just being like a monthly discoverable, you know, tape that. So there's a lot to play with on the format, and hopefully, you know, we can keep bringing new ideas to the, you know, the club in that way.
For a lot of people in the indie music in the last 20 years, Paste magazine was very popular too, and their CD inside of their gorgeous magazine. But that, I mean, one of the things I want to ask you about is the price, because I remember Paste was quite an expensive magazine. It was a beautiful magazine too, and but I think you're like £7 per tape. Is that right? If you go monthly?
Yeah, monthly it's 7 plus shipping now.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done a few different, you know, varieties of, you know, including it in the price, and trying to work around our kind of website subscription platform, and
okay.
So yeah, there's been lots of things to work out, but yeah,
that's a good price. That's a great price.
Yeah, I think we can now do it like that because, well, hopefully, you know, as it scales like that, it works more in our favor. But yeah, I think it's important for us to see it as a gateway into our world. You know, it's only one piece of the puzzle for us, and our platform is a place where you can discover so much on the format. And
so what do you still pursue individual releases from artists from the label side of things?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We do a lot of exclusives, cassette versions and variations now on our website. So we use that. You know, the Next Wave is gateway, and the artists we work with, it's kind of like our first step really. And then, you know, as our kind of relationship like nurtures and things, we can work with them to offer their EPs or new albums on the format.
Are you getting any feedback? I mean, one of the things about analog is that we don't get analytics, right? We don't know how often the tapes are played or if a song is rewound and listened to over and over. Like, do you get any sort of like fan feedback to say, hey, this artist was really well loved? Or like, do you know any of those?
We know for sure like the people that are collecting Next Wave are like 100% listening. Like there's no...
Yeah, sure.
That is, people with players and, ready to discover.
Yeah.
Certain, I think if it's from the artists, I guess one of the biggest challenges with the format is this perception that there's no players anymore and how am I going to play it? So it's all about fixing that on the front end as well.
True.
We sell our own players and other brands' players to try and, curb that. So that'll be ongoing. But I think a lot of people in our community are listening. I think that's why they're coming to us. And there's definitely a lot of people that aren't listening to them. But that's probably across the board with other formats as well. But
you don't really know how, like if it's a particular track or a particular artist is like, how would you know, hey, I should sign that artist. We should do a full length with that artist.
Yeah, I see what you said. Yeah. No, it's more about, I think it's still a tastemaker thing in our sense of being like, we would love to put that one out.
Yeah.
Like we're a huge fan of that band.
I see what you're saying.
So there's artists that we have released through Next Wave where we're like, I would love to see what we could do next with that because I can just know that's a sound that we want to be a part of and push.
So when you say that, on the label side of things, doing exclusive releases, like I've seen in your store too, there's some very popular releases. I think there's like a hole in the market for, I mean, obviously when Taylor Swift does a record, she now sells her own $40 cassette that they're doing themselves. But there still seems to be like, I mean, in the same way that like vinyl is repressing everything from the early 2000s, repressing everything from the 90s. It's slow, but it's happening to the point where basically every record that's ever sold reasonably well in the past is being given a reissue or a first-time pressing. The same hasn't happened yet for cassettes. And I would love that. And I mean, there's like Radiohead releases that were done in the Philippines or Indonesia that like you can find for $40 or $50. But like I would repurchase my top 20 favorite albums of the last 20 years if they were done officially on cassette. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, we're definitely trying to push more labels and, owners of material to consider the format. Mm-hmm. We're constantly trying to speak to labels about collaboration, even with us, because we've got the manufacturing back end and the facilities to sell. We're basically now saying to, collaborators that there is no risk. Doing it with us is literal no risk because we're manufacturing on demand,
right?
Free with pre-order campaigns and things like. If we only sell one, it's okay because we haven't manufactured it yet. So I think there's so much opportunity in what we're doing because of the setup. But yeah, there was a moment where a lot of like labels were doing like all formats. But there seems to be been a bit of a dip again with tapes and them missing it out as an option. And I think it's because they don't necessarily understand how to market it to the right people.
Yeah.
But, what we've built is we know our audience likes tapes. Like we are building a community to discover tapes. So, when we do work with a new artist, we can push it out to our mailing list and our network and be like, look, it's a tape ready to be discovered and collected. So
yeah,
hopefully more people in the future, we'll collaborate with more to do these exclusives or, just like Rough Trade might do or.
Yeah, that's true. There was I want to ask you just about kind of the future of cassettes and where they're at today. And this is going to sound a little bit cynical because I'm a huge fan of tapes because when I was a kid, like tapes were the thing I had. And then as CDs came along, tapes were still like the most affordable thing. And then you could do mixtapes and whatever. And so when I got wind of them kind of coming back around, I was super nostalgic for them. I love the feel of them. And there was just a bit of excitement for me. And then 2015 to 2020, that time period you're talking about, seeing these tape labels happening, I was really excited. And seeing what was happening with vinyl, I thought that they would just kind of track together. I now feel, and again, this is cynical, you're more in this than I am, but I feel like vinyl is just such a shadow over tapes, and that the adoption of tapes, one of the things I thought was the most encouraging about 5 to 10 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I saw a big rack at Urban Outfitters in the US selling Justin Bieber and Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, okay, this is happening. Like tapes are coming. And I kind of just feel like they've plateaued, and now we're hearing about CDs because they're the affordable alternative, and CD players are maybe more accessible. So I'm cynical about tapes, the future of tapes. I want them to be as big as vinyl. I really do. I criticize record stores for not giving tapes their proper display as they do vinyl. So tell me about, like, how do you feel about the current status and acceptance rate of cassettes and the future? Is the future bright for you, or is there like a fear of plateauing?
Yeah, no, good question. I think going into it knowing that they're never going to be as big as vinyl. I think that's fair. I think there's always going to be a smaller piece of the pie, the format. But I think that's also okay. I think it's also creating legacy of the format and making sure it still exists as an option. There are like cracks in, the cynicalness of the format due to player issues, getting, some of the collectors of the day, they're always going to complain about there not being, cassette players of the same quality as the Sonys. And
sure.
So adoption's always going to be difficult in that sense. But I think there's opportunity in new collectors that have never experienced it because it's such an alternative format from what they're used to. There's excitement to be had in that, and if you've only ever been shown streaming platforms as a format, this opportunity to start collecting on something alternative could be, there could be opportunity in that. I think also the vinyl price point seems to be just getting higher and higher. And I think that's what pushed me out, was the fact that I don't want to be paying 40, 50 pounds for a vinyl when I think a lot of people probably might be in a similar boat. It used to be it's a luxury now to afford to invest in the format. So I think there's different opportunities in that, but you need to open from record shops to really give it its place. So
are the same cassette collectors buying 80s cassettes for $2 or $3? Like there's so many great cassettes out there at like yard sales. And I mean, I'm a part of like a few Facebook communities where people sell their cassettes locally and within my country. And like, just to see like MC Hammer and like all these old like hip hop and like 80s, George Michael and Phil Collins and all that, just like so much great music. And then soundtracks like so huge on cassettes. Are your customers consuming that equally with like just brand new cassettes that you're doing? Are those two different customers, or are they the same customer?
There's definitely crossover, especially the older demographic of collector. They're interested in discovering old music and new music. So we have tried developing like a vintage range of tapes that we source and sell alongside new releases from other labels. So it is, so our kind of the club has kind of evolved into very much like the home of cassette culture, where you can get a piece of all these aspects that, embodies it.
Yeah.
I think that was important for us to almost be like a record store front end through Chalkpit Cassette Club. So you can learn about it, you can discover, you can get involved.
That's smart, because a lot of people do curate vinyl, and it's what's pushed the bottom end of vinyl. The used vinyl market is like, you used to be able to get Thriller for $1 and Marvin Gaye for $1 and Stevie Wonder for $1. And now those are all 10 to 20 or more for used. And like, I almost feel like you're right. Like there's an opportunity for people to take their time, go to flea markets, grab a couple obscure new age cassettes or like weird cassettes, and then listen to them, and then like make sure they work well, and then as a curator present those to people and say, hey, for $10 this is like a really, really good album that nobody's heard of.
Yeah, I mean I managed to pick up like a collector's collection. I've got like thousands like here that I've managed to
great
someone.
That's awesome.
I haven't been able to like go through them all put them on the shop or anything, but yeah, I'm almost like internally buying up stock to make sure that there's stuff to be shared for kids. But yeah, there's so many great releases, and I think that's something that you don't get from Spotify, which is really frustrating. It's so difficult to go past, to get deeper into it, like discovering these albums that do exist. Like you're always fed the new thing or the algorithms playlist. It's like, how are we going to discover, the artists of previous that, pioneered the sound?
You're absolutely right. I would say the most exciting albums I've ever discovered is in the discount bin at a record store, like jazz and new age and, international, like Brazilian music, and like, but Spotify has absolutely, and Apple Music too, has absolutely no formula to present those to you at all.
Yeah, I think we're always just trying to inspire new, like, music fans to listen differently, be open, curious, to try something else, and ultimately as well, just like switch off from digital distractions and, social media for, listen to albums in full, not just playlists.
What is interesting about cassettes is that, again, I'm cynical. I'm not in it as much as you are, so I probably are wrong. But I do feel like they're taking longer to get everybody on board, and we can talk about the reasons for that. However, that is not true in the music production space. In the music production space, for musicians and for mix engineers and producers, everything is about tape sound. And like, there's always a new tape plugin. I just saw a new tape plugin a couple weeks ago. I've had one for years, but there's like this new one that is like over the top. Like, it gets you warble, it gets you dropouts. It's so cool. And you can even pretend you're listening to it through like a mono speaker. And there's a new VHS plugin that just came out. So what is it about like music producers and musicians that are so drawn to the cassette sound, let alone actually, and most of these people who use these plugins aren't even releasing on cassette. They're going straight to Spotify. So what is it about the cassette sound that's actually like super popular right now?
Yeah, people are always hunting for that analog richness of the sound quality, warmth, variation. They don't want this squeaky clean recording style. It's the pops, the squeaks, and it's the
unpredictability.
Of what it can be. And a lot more studios are now adopting, tape, going back to tape tape decks and 8 tracks and things like that to record on. So I think that's always been part of music production as well. It's like that those stylistics have always been there, and their inspiration. And I guess it's the what that using that format does. If you are recording to it, you can't. You have to play it right. You have to. You've got to be allow. You can't play to click like to the beat. Allow notations to come through.
True.
But yeah, I think that's something. So I think it's the players that are the issue on a consumer level.
I agree.
Yeah.
Are you encouraged by, or do you think that they're still running behind?
There's not enough options really. Everyone's kind of working from the same bag of tools really. Unless the manufacturers of the past step forward or there's something in the work, it's hard to see it. But I think for a new collector, it's not as bad. Like if that's the first player you've got, you're not going to be as bothered by this head mechanism debate that's going on. Like new collectors don't know. So
do you think that the tape world needs the cassette equivalent of a Crosley player, like something that you can buy at Walmart that's $49.99 and it comes in different colors and is just super simple to use?
Yeah, I mean we're even looking at like bringing out a better version cassette player that we can sell and introduce people to the format.
Yeah,
I know that's probably our biggest challenge is like we're selling tapes, but we need players to go alongside with them.
Yeah.
We actually have done a couple of releases recently and doing a lot more where we'll do like a box set. So you'd get a branded player with the album.
That's cool. So, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So for artists that are releasing an album, we can brand up their own player so that their fans can have, their branded player from a band they love, also listen to their own music on the tape. So we're exploring lots of different avenues really.
How deep did you get into the manufacturing process? Because like you said, you started to explore the DIY, but when I look at your social media, like you've got some pretty serious machines.
Yeah. Well, so that's come from collaboration with, business partner now really, coming forward equally as, obsessed with what this format could be and is, and a wizard at like engineering has basically built these machines from the 90s.
Wow.
Which is insane, but has completely opened the doors of what we can do now. But starting off really, I bought 3 twin head kind of deck systems off of eBay and was linking them up to record more, and I was buying more to then record more, and it was all in real time, and it was like that was a learning curve for sure. It wasn't sustainable doing it that way at all. It was taking days to fulfill orders and so real blessing when things aligned really, and the opportunity of collaborating with partner now that we could really go for it. And we offer tape manufacturing to independent artists, other record labels, but now
I noticed that.
but then also a lot of the exclusives we do are on demand, so it's low barrier kind of opportunities really.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that. And I mean, you're bringing the production in-house, so you're keeping your costs down. I think the moral of this story for our listeners is that you love the format. You love artists and you love the format and you love the music, and you have created this ecosystem. You've created this community, but it's more than just the community. The community, it's a big factor of it, but to be able to own the means of production, to be able to, you're working with players so that you can promote the format. So you are the bus and the wheels and the steering wheel and the driver and the gas all in one. And I just think that's such a good business model. And I think a lot of label owners shouldn't be afraid to do that. It's not going to look exactly like buying a pressing plant or buying a tape duplicator, but whatever it is that, our listeners are passionate about, and whatever it is their community is passionate about, maybe get involved in more of that process, whether it's a venue or recording studio or whatever it is. I just think it's like, from your standpoint, it's a more sustainable business model. There's probably just more revenue streams that are happening. And at the same time, you are secretly pushing this format. You know what I mean? It's propaganda. You're pushing this format. You're making more tapes. You're making more players, and you're making more cassette fans. I think it's awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like reflecting on like where it's going, and you know where it started. Like, yeah, the opportunities. There's so many more opportunities to be had with the format, and yeah, a lot of the stuff we are doing online is education, like, you know, telling people about the format and, you know, the possibilities. But, you know, the more people we speak to, the more kind of exciting collaborations we might have. And yeah, there's, like I said, it's branching out more avenues really for your label and what you stand for.
Yeah, absolutely. What do people love about cassettes? Like, what do you think? I mean, I think about this all the time. I think we've talked about all the physical media in our lives, books, records, tapes are a rebellion, in my opinion, a rebellion to digital, or an alternative, you could say, but I think it's a rebellion. There's the sound, the price, whatever. What do you think? Like, this must keep you awake at night, but what do people love about what you do and tapes in general?
I think for older people who experienced it the first time, we're giving them their kind of childhoods back.
Yeah.
And, you know, allowing them to, you know, feel what they felt growing up, being curious, like evolving music fan, and establishing, you know, kind of their identities. But I think at the exact same time, a new fan, it's an opportunity to, you know, put your mark on what you stand for in music and how invested you are as a music fan and a supporter. Yeah, I just think your record collection is it's a part of your identity, be with you throughout your life. We're just trying to get people to maybe consider tapes as part of the identity, but we're not saying it's like it has to be just tapes. We're not anti all the other formats. You know, we're just really interested in keeping cassette culture alive, and, you know, making sure that, you know, it's around for years to come, and new artists can experience releasing on it, new fans can experience listening and collecting.
I think the way you've done it with Next Wave, visually, conceptually, is attractive to people who aren't even nostalgic for tapes, who, as you say, are just looking at this format and going, what is this? Like, I have a vinyl collection, I have some CDs, or I don't have any of those, I just have Spotify. Looking at Next Wave, the way it's presented, the monthly thing, people love getting things in the mail. That's just so attractive. Question for you, do you sell... Can people go back into the catalog and buy like earlier issues?
Yeah, this is becoming more and more
box set
to do. Yeah, so each year we do a box set.
Okay.
Which is like the easiest way for someone to experience the past years. So yeah, we kind of box it up, and
that's
people
good.
can buy the whole collection. And we're seeing a lot more people buying those as an entry point or a way to catch up. Like, yeah,
it's a great Christmas present to buy like a box set of 12.
I think this is also the thing is like Christmas is about giving, and well, it's not always about giving, but there's an essence of you need to give people things, and you can't give necessarily digital vouchers all the time. Like, there's always going to be a need for music fans to be enriched with physical products by their friends and family.
Yeah.
So yeah, tapes are, you know, a great extension of that. And yeah, we make a lot of offers around Christmas and around now where, you know, people can buy players and sign up for the magazine or...
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all about being curious, really.
Well, there's so much for our listeners to check out when it comes to what you have to offer, from how you run your label to Next Wave, to the manufacturing as well, and to maybe even to reach out to you for manufacturing use. But anyway, I love what you have. I was a fan before we met, and just congratulations on everything, and thanks for taking the time to share your story.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you all for listening, and thanks to our friends at Lander, who help make these episodes possible week after week. You can check them out if you're looking for a new digital distributor by going to Lander, that's spelled landr.com/other record labels, and thanks to them for sponsoring today's episode. If you want to learn more about Chalkpit Cassette Club, go to Chalkpit, that's spelled Chalkpit, just as it sounds, chalkpitcassetteclub.com, where you can check out their duplication, Next Wave magazine, and all of the releases they're working on. Thanks for listening.